This channel is supported by Truefire. Truefire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. Okay, I was just checking out the Studio Rats just a minute ago, and it's kind of brought up something that was on my mind a little bit, and it's basically that it's a great time to buy an amp. His video was looking at a few bargains on eBay and Reverb. He also just crossed 100,000 subscribers, so nice work, Paul, for that. Love Paul's playing and love his videos and love his amp videos in particular. So I've recently sort of been trying to do a little bit more with amps in some cases. I don't know if any of you watch this channel regularly, but I've been gigging amps again for quite a while just because I had them. I was kind of like, well, what's the point in having them if I'm just going to use FRFR stuff? Sold off a bunch. But it seems right now, especially, I did a video on this at the time as well, where on Dipped in Tone, it was revealed that the top 20 amps, most of them were not even really amps, and number 22 was a valve amp. But I've kind of been thinking about some things that I've never really owned and just been looking on eBay and stuff like that. So I wanted to share some things that I found. And I guess if you've been trying to sell an amp, then let folks know in the comments why, or if you're thinking about buying one, again, let folks know why if you're interested in that at all. But for me, I've just sold a couple of amps and they shifted quite quickly, which I was happy about. But I kind of quickly looked on Facebook Marketplace. Now, Facebook Marketplace is probably, I don't know if you have it in your country, quite a good place to find cheap amps, because basically amps are a little bit difficult to shift and they're oftentimes going to be kind of needing collection. So Facebook Marketplace seems to be one of those places where, you know, if you can verify that it's not just a scammer, then you can get some fairly interesting stuff. I was specifically interested in Marshalls, so I just put Marshall in And there's a JCM 2000 100 watt head for 450 nearby. A hand-wired Marshall 1959, and this is a little thing which you maybe never know exactly what you're going to get, but that's maybe the case with amps in general. But a guy that it looks like hand-wired a few of his own things, and one of them looks quite clean. That is the way that I've got, you know, that head first Dirty Shirley clone. There's a 2245 JTM 45 Mark II reissue 2-channel 30 watt guitar head that looks incredibly clean for 850. There's a Marshall 75 dung spreader. That one, 75 obviously vintage, is 3,750, so a little bit more of an asking. And then here, I think, in terms of pounds for watts, there's a JCM 900 100 watt combo for £330. That's probably a heavy beast, and is missing some knobs and stuff, but quite a lot of amp for £330. Probably the pandemic time was when amp values seemed to go up most of all, which is kind of ironic given that we weren't gigging them. But I bought a bunch of amps during that lockdown. At the moment as well, I think you can notice there's some sort of trends in terms of what is favoured. I think a lot of that is based on marketing and what is in vogue. But things like Mesa Boogies right now are relatively cheap versus, you know, some time in the past they were really expensive. I can remember, but now you can pick them up for more reasonable prices. There's actually a Mesa Boogie near me that belongs to a buddy's cousin of mine, a Reverb, I think, for like £700, which is a pretty good deal if you're looking for that sort of thing. So amps that fall out of favour, in particular a 4x12, I imagine right now is kind of rock bottom prices. I've not seen a 4x12 on a stage for years. I've not played one for decades at this point, so I'm quite interested to try a 4x12 again. I don't know if I might get a chance to do that at some point. The 100 watt amp has sort of fallen out of favour because, you know, people, if they're playing at home or playing live, are just not able to get the best out of a 100 watt amp. Plexis and stuff like that are not known as being like forgiving 100 watt type amps, you know, if they're non-master versus, you know, some other 100 watt amps. Fender Twins as well, so you can find like a lot of vintage Fender amps on eBay at the moment, but Fender Twins in particular, because they're big heavy amps, those seem to have kind of dropped in price, and you can grab those for really quite cheap prices, especially like Silverface era stuff. Now I would, if I had a reliable tech nearby, or someone like Chris Fantana from Rift Amps, or Lyle from Sonic Audio, or Brad from Brad's Guitar Garage, Jason at Headfirst. If I had a buddy like one of them, then I'd probably be tempted to try some of these things, but I don't have like a tech, and I also am useless with a soldering iron, as I am with most things in life. But those are just some things that came up. I'm going to just jump over to eBay now, but let me know if there's like a specific amp that you've always kind of had in your mind that you have wanted to try from like being a kid. I think for me, something like a Marshall Plexi still remains like an itch that I've not ever really scratched, and whether that would work at all in my context, I'm not entirely sure. I imagine I could probably get things sounding quite clean and quite bright at home. Yeah, it just seems to be the case that at the moment, because of the modelling thing, because stage volumes are coming down. Maybe it's like a bunch of guys sort of retiring from gigging as well that have this great gear that they're selling off. Maybe it's amps that, yeah, have been used in the past, or, you know, studio amps or things that people bought during lockdown, but it just seems like there's a really good opportunity to buy some used amps. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you're going to try one of these or whatever, and on with the video. Sorry, I don't have much time to talk today. Cheers for stopping by. Always worth checking on eBay what these things are going for at the moment. So £700 for a brand new SV20, and then the going price seems to be around sort of 580. So in that case, would you be better off just buying a new one anyway? So do make sure to double check some of that stuff. This Origin 20, what are they? 366. So in some cases you think maybe it'll 350, 360 on backs. Is it sometimes worth just going, all right, I'm going to grab one new? Just do, yeah, I guess check your prices on this before you go down this route. And say Mesa Boogies, Mark V. These ones have really come down in price, so that would have been a really expensive amp when I was a kid, but 650 now. Here's a Roadster for whatever. These ones have really plummeted in price, where you can get, you know, a handmade American amp for 550 quid, 2x12 as well. Mark III combo here for 1850. These ones tend to hang around for a while. These can't have ever really been cheaper. Supersonic Twin here, 650, cheap. 1977 Fender Twin. I think this one didn't have a proper account. But yeah, £800 here for a 100 watt, the Twin. Red Knob Twin, 1977 Twin, 850. 1971 Twin for 849. Of course, like I said earlier, you don't know exactly what the sort of quality here is going to be. It's a good time to buy an amp if you've got a bit of money and space to do things with it. A Reverb 2 Rivera. I also thought there was a Deluxe Reverb Rivera that came, given that Tim Pierce just made his video on it. So that's pretty cool as well, if you'd liked the sound of Tim Pierce's one. It's available in Pool and it's recently been serviced. So pretty good time to buy an old amp. Not so much a new one, but look at this actually, Fender Champ. So around lockdown these kind of skyrocketed in value, but again here 1978 with original manual, service, 750 quid, that's not bad, is it? 1978 Vibro Champ, 795, 730. Super Champ. It's a pretty cool time to be trying some of these things, I think. Again, do you have space for one of these? I'm not so sure. But it could be tempting, couldn't it?